So here we go. We got the tier list for entering into this GHB with just the battle scroll. I'm not going to be going over any of the spicy stuff. We only got 2 so far, and I'm not going to even factor those in. I'm going to be doing another stream once all those are out to kind of compare and contrast where I thought we were versus where we ended up. But my current working opinion is that like whatever we're getting in the spicy stuff is going to be good for everyone. So it's mostly a neutralizing factor. This has to do a lot with like the GHB itself, the rules changes there, the map changes there, all those sort of things, and the battle scroll points changes and rules changes for that. Those are going to be much more impactful to overall stance than like a single war scroll change or something like that. So I'm going to go over that, but I'm doing my tier list for what I think these are, discussing that, and then in like I don't know if it's going to be a week or 2 weeks before all the spicy stuff is out. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But when all that stuff is out, then I'll do another stream and just kind of compare and contrast where we stand on that and go over some of the really cool things and cool interactions that I'm sure will show up. So, firstly, I do have a tier list up. I'm going to be kind of making it live. It's a pretty easy system to follow. I drag them around, boom, boom, boom. I have instead of doing S through like D tier or F tier or whatever, because I think a lot of people get kind of confused as to exactly what I mean or what people mean by those. I put kind of a little bit silly, but also I think a more accurate description of what I'm referring to in these tiers. So obviously, at the very top we have concerning levels of sadism. These are armies that are like, they're going to be so strong that like if you match against your opponent and you're of equal skill, you basically automatically win. Armies that like you don't really even like, they're going to be like just crazy strong. We've all seen stuff like that. Like Doc was just like that at the high level. Sylveth was like that. And like we've seen it with like really old Slanesh was like that. The Korn AOR, like crazy stuff that's super busted. And you kind of have to be a little more than a little bit sadistic to play them. Then we got Easy Peasy Gaming. These are really, really strong armies that give you a significant advantage going into the game. You should be able to win most games quite easily. They'll have like 1 or 2 hard games a tournament. Contenders are strong armies that are fundamentally fair. They're within the band of like acceptable balance, but they're like on the strong end. Like if you're going to try and win a tournament, they're a very valid choice. Not going to win games for you, but they're strong. Middle pack. It's like, it's not hurting or harming your chances for doing well. Not great but playable is going to be stuff that's kind of like probably a little bit below 50%, which isn't necessarily like terrible, but like sometimes they're just like, they require a lot of skill to play. Sometimes they're just a little bit weak, but like not awful. Struggling is armies that like you're really not doing well. So anything in the struggling category, like you can win a good number of games. You're not going to go 5-0. But, like, if you fight really hard, you can sneak a 4-1, a 3-2, stuff like that. And then lastly, concerning levels of masochism. These are armies that are so bad that you're basically just torturing yourself by bringing them into things. And there are some armies in this category, in my opinion. Currently, an example would be Fire Slayers. It's like a 30% win rate, has been for, like, 2 years. There's not a lot of stuff to do with it. You just kind of lose by showing up. So those two, the top and the bottom categories, are like significant problems that I'm expecting in good or bad ways. Like too strong or way too strong or way too weak. Everything in the middle I think is kind of mostly okay. We'd preferably not have much in the struggling or easy peasy categories. Maybe 1 or 2 armies in each. We'll see how that shapes out. Ideally, everything should be within contending to not great but playable. That's the ideal. That's the 45 to 55 bandwidth. And I want to talk about some stuff before we go into individual armies. So, this new GHB has a lot of changes, obviously. There's the end of turn fighting. I call it firefighting, because I can never remember the name for some reason. And then there's also the damage prevention rules. But also, there's some core changes to rules. Like, for example, you can't charge terrain pieces. So a lot of faction terrains are getting significantly stronger. And it changes a lot of the ways that certain armies play. Like Deep Strike armies, a lot of the time, would charge terrain pieces to get movement. So a lot of things are going to change like that. Your cat. Oh, okay, kitty. This is Bradford, also known as well-behaved Bradford. He's not being very well-behaved right now. Um, and the those changes are going to be really impactful. Additionally, like there's a lot of there's going to be a lot less what's it called obscuring in the game. So in the previous edition, the previous GHB, you could make you could make terrain pieces that have obscuring. You could make objectives have obscuring. There's also like regeneration based off places of power, and the place of power most of the time couldn't hurt you unless you're specifically trying to heal. A lot of the maps were designed in such a way where they had a lot of stabilizing agents and fairly spread out. A lot of mechanics that made it hard to like suddenly explode a game out of nowhere. Whereas the new GHB, a lot of stuff I'm seeing is not that way. Battle tactics changed, obviously, so that's a really big part of the game. Your ability to score battle tactics very much does determine, for some armies, how well they can do. Some armies aren't really that concerned with battle tactics. They're really trying to kill you, win on primary, and score a couple tactics here and there. Those ones don't care as much, but a lot of armies do care quite a bit what the battle tactics are and what they can score. So those changes are really important, and will have a big impact. And then we also just got a bunch of sweeping points changes and rules changes. Some general overarching stuff. Well, actually, I'll go into more like my conceptual stuff as we go into tiers of armies, because it'll come up naturally, I think. And we do these in the order of how they do it for GW stuff. Of like, it just makes sense. Like, it makes it easier. Can we go over the points and the rules changes for each army as we do so. So, let's see. Look at these on the right page. We're gonna jump to 37 on this one, and wait, why doesn't that start on cities? Okay, whatever. There's no cities rules changes. So we're gonna start with cities of Sigmar. There's no points change in cities of Sigmar, so this is a chance to talk about cities of Sigmar. This guy's just being weird. Okay, go away. Some spammer. Anyway, Cities of Sigmar isn't getting any changes, but we're going to talk about them a little bit. I think they're a pretty strong army. I think they're fundamentally a fair army. They have some tricks and annoying things, and they have lots of utility, but like they're fundamentally fair. However, Cities has always been known as like a shooting army and a castle army. And that was held back significantly by the last GHB because shooting armies were really struggling. If everything's obscuring all the time, shooting is not so strong. Removing a lot of obscuring, reducing the amount of obscuring on tables and not being able to create more obscuring, and also reducing healing, because you don't place power to heal you off, so like chip damage adds up better. That's going to really improve their stance. I think where we were with them, they would be probably somewhere around here. They'd be in like the contenders category, strong, not super busted. At the high levels, they can be really, really strong if you're really, really good at them, but that's true for a lot of armies. So like you could win a tournament with cities, but it was like you weren't getting free wins ever, really. But you were in a pretty strong spot. I think this is going to remain mostly true. I don't have any other armies up there yet, but they would move higher up into the contenders category than they were before. So they'd be already like middle of the contenders, and they'd be a little bit close to the top. They're going to be able to shoot better, which does help. But some other armies are like really getting big advantages. They're going to be a more consistent choice. I don't think they're going towards broken. I don't think they're going to be autopilot by any means. No one's going to be mad at you for playing cities unless they just hate that army. So they're going to be solid in the contenders, in my opinion. And nothing changes with points. There's not that much to talk about with them yet. We get some spicy stuff, but like we're not going over that yet. Well, I'm curious what these will be. But we're going to go into something a little bit more dynamic in what's changed here, which is going to be Daughters of Cain. So if anyone's paying any attention, Daughters of Cain was like tippy top of S tier. Like, it's one of those armies that was sitting at a point where basically, if you're playing Doc and you have equal skill to your opponent or better, there was nothing they could do. You like automatically won the game. It was 65% win rate or something like that globally, and that only got worse the more the higher skilled the player was. So the army was crazy, and so naturally it's getting hit with a nerf bat here, pretty hard. We've got a sweeping points changes. Marathi went in points. Slaughter Queen, Blood Hags, Blood Sisters went up 20. So the snakes went up 20 per 5. I still think that the snakes are good at 160. They were just crazy under costed before. Life Takers went up 10. I'm surprised to see that Heartrenders did not. Heartrenders remaining at 100 is surprising to me because that unit is absolutely insane. So basically, I'm doing the tier list now with just the battle scroll and the change to GHB. I'm not factoring aqshy stuff. I'm going to do another one to compare and contrast later. Where if those change these matchups, I'm going to keep my tier list and then be like, let's compare and see how these things shift around and talk about those interactions more. This is more for like general GHB and battle scroll changes. So I was saying as I was starting to stream, like basically that we have to assume that all the aqshy rules are going to be strong. So far, what we've seen has been very strong. Docs in particular, I'm like, this is crazy. But this army was already very strong, and I'm seeing these points changes, and I actually think they got off really easy. I think this army, just at points alone, there was several things that could have gone more, but they did also get some rules changes. As you can see here, the change of timing on this ability. Oh wait, sorry, stop. Where is it? Hold on, I went the wrong thing. Not Blaze of Corn. Daughters. What the fuck? That was not the. There it is. There it is. Okay. They changed the Blood Rights ability. I was reading the to be only one Blood Right per unit destroyed. So previously you could use like Marathi's ability and other abilities all at once, and you would score like. Doc did get off the easiest for sure, and they needed some pretty heavy hits. So they changed some Blood Rights abilities to prevent some of the abuse that you're capable of doing. This is just a clarification. Where's the other one? I know they changed one. There it is. Wait, that's it? I thought they changed the. Maybe it's ruling somewhere else, but I was under the impression they had changed the ability where you basically can move Marathi 3 times during your opponent's turn for one thing dying. Maybe it's because only one Blood Right ability. Maybe it's the elegant fix. But basically they were able to move Marathi 3 times a turn, plus 4 times sometimes. But like whoever was balancing this, I think maybe underdid it a little bit. But there are some other contextual changes that do make Daughters of Cain a little bit less strong. Basically, like there's going to be way less places of power on the table, and all these maps there's like 1 per side. There's like 2 instead of 4, which does help them be a little bit less strong. But I think that Daughters of Cain is going from tippy top of concerning levels of sadism to the very, very top of easy peasy gaming, or maybe still concerning levels of sadism. This army is still definitely one of the best armies in the game. It's not particularly close in most cases. I think they underdid a lot of these changes. Like 10 points doesn't mean anything. A lot of time when you fought Daughters of Cain, like I would think like if they were down an entire cauldron at the start of the game, I still don't think I would have a good chance to win this game. So they're gonna sit solidly still up here, but probably like towards the bottom of sadism tier. Part of that is that their sub-faction to not be shot from outside of 9 or 12 when you're on an objective, not even wholly, just on, and it can block with their monsters, with their war machines, everything. Basically says that everyone else in the game now is much easier to shoot, but you're not. So it's going to be an auto include in every list. Like I would be surprised if you ever see a competitor for the next 3 months who's actually has any intent to win a tournament not bring that sub-faction. Be close to 100% inclusion rate, I would guess. And like I still think they will be winning tournaments and probably have like at least a 55% win rate. Possibly significantly higher than that. But it's a little hard to tell exactly without all the information, but 55 to 60 for sure. And in the matchups with like shooting matchups, like, well, I just ought to win. Cool. There's situations like they already had this problem, in my opinion, where basically they could roll bad, it didn't matter. They could fail all their charges, didn't matter. Their prayers on like a re-rolling 2+, so you roll 1, doesn't matter, no downside. And I was like, oh, Marathi whiffed. I'll just do 3 extra tail attacks, 6 damage apiece. Get good. With BR changes, what does BR stand for here? Being Marathi with BR. I do think Marathi is highly viable. I think she's still one of the best units in the game, even though she went up 20 points and got her rules nerfed. She's still going to be a dominant figure in the game. She's because she went from broken auto win to one of the best units in the game. She's still highly viable. It's just now you don't get to like do literally whatever you want. You're gonna have to actually like make some choices and have some consequences to your choices. So the army got worse, but it's still S tier for sure. Moving on down into Fire Slayers. So Fire Slayers, for those y'all who didn't know, were all the way down here. Concerning levels of masochism, they were just terrible. Like, it was just like, why would you even bother bringing this army to a tournament? You're just automatically losing the game. There doesn't really feel like much of a point in playing them, unless you're like one of the best Fire Slayers ever, or you did a very, very specific spamming of like so many models of the same war scroll that like you could just kind of walk around. Didn't matter if your war scrolls did anything. So they have a lot of ground to cover, and if you look at this, I don't think 10 points is covering a 20% gap in win rate. It just doesn't. I think these changes are kind of vaguely useful, and you do have that like potential to just super spam. But to me, this army went from dog shit tier to dog shit tier. Like they don't play them. And I'm normally a person who loves to play bad armies, but if you're playing Fire Slayers, you're gonna just have a bad time. I would wait for their book and just leave it as it is for now, because these points aren't going to change anything. You're still sitting right down here. And this also goes hand in hand with sort of a more conceptual level of this GHB, with some things I'm seeing about it. I think that infantry armies in general, this general statement, there's obviously exceptions, but if you're an infantry-based army, especially a slow-moving infantry army, you're going to be in a really, really bad spot. The reason for that is that obscuring was one of the best things that was supporting the infantry. It was a differentiator between the power of monsters and flying things and other stuff like that, and melee infantry, because they could hide in terrain really reliably, close the distance, defend themselves. There's a lot of ways to basically stand on objectives and say, you have to come and fight me on this or you can't take it, whereas now they can just shoot you off of it. Additionally, a lot of times with these like units, like let's say Fire Slayers spamming a bunch of wounds of models, and it was like, okay, like a lot of time your unit survives, even their heavy hitting things, like you'll survive with one model, and now they're kind of stuck there, and then you can do a whole bunch of cool plays, you can take advantage of that. That doesn't really work so well anymore, because you're gonna have end of turn fighting with these really, really strong attacks, and their bad saves is like, yeah, you have a ward save, but like it's gonna probably go through, and every like 5 damage attack, it's just like, instead of you getting stuck on this little berserker and them getting to charge you, you're free to do what you want. And then people can be playing super high impact damage, which will clear off those models too quickly, I think. So Fire Slayers, real bad situation for them, and the points don't really do much to help. Now, Deepkin, initially, when they're an army that's kind of interesting. So Deepkin, I would have put here. Very weak, but you could win games with them. They're a movement army, so you could like score battle tactics really well, and you could run away from your opponent all game. And they had super strong sub-faction, the Shark one from the Soggy rules, that was basically like making a unit that was extremely bad. The sub-faction was so good that this unit that you could never have realistically played in any other list went from terrible to the highest win rate version of the army. We're losing that sub-faction in Idneth. So that's going to tank the win rate a bit. I saw these points and I'm like, oh, cool. 10-point drop on Sharks. If you dropped them another 30, we could be talking. Like at 130, I think they're playable. At 160, they're just really, really bad. Like, they're really fragile. They don't hit hard. Their ability is very unreliable. You can't really apply any buffs to them. So they're just not very good. And like 8 wounds on a 4-up it dies like anything, and they don't hit very hard because they're super unreliable in their damage output. If you're playing like Achillean Beastmasters, you should be playing eels and stuff like that instead. So like Sharks are really bad, and I was like, okay, well that sucks. And Marta Reaver's going down 10. I'm like, I mean, that's good. I already thought Reavers were pretty good. The problem was just the rules don't support them super well. And Volturnos going down 20. I was like, that's helpful. That is good. I like that. I don't think this is enough to make them like strong, but I think it's like, but Beastmaster's kind of like approaching a decent place. And one of the things like the battle scroll, the battle tactics are really, really hard in this new GHB, and Idneth is super good at getting battle tactics. So it's super relevant. Your ability to get battle tactics when your opponent is really struggling to get battle tactics makes you win a lot of games that you shouldn't win. The downside with the army is just that like it feels kind of bad. Like all you do is run around in circles, scoring battle tactics, trying your best to never fight the opponent, because if you do, you lose. And that was still going to be true. But they came with this really, really cool rules change I thought was super dope and exciting. And as a enjoyer of Namarti, I'm actually kind of hyped about this change. Here's I'm gonna pull it up right here. Go to the Deepkin. They have a new ability. It's a generic. It's not even a sub faction. Like, this is like they all get this. And basically, you can chain shoot and chain fight from Achillean units into Namarti units. So, like, you can shoot with the turtle, or fight with the turtle and then shoot with your Reavers. Or you can charge in with, like, Volturnus with +1 attack up, chain fight into your Namarti, who then get +1 attack when they chain fight into it, so they're +2 attacks, and now they're 4 attacks instead of 2. Because part of the problem with Namarti was it just had 2 attacks, and it was, like, really bad on dice, and you just couldn't do anything. Like, you could do all these buffs and stuff, but it was just not enough because you couldn't do any damage. Now you can do damage, and this I think really breathes new life into the faction. I don't think it's gonna be like useful for anything but covering fire. I mean, potentially, like if someone countercharges into your turtle, like but covering fire is very strong. Like, and if someone charges you and you're standing behind your army, and they charge your eels. Like it's good, yeah, but yes, it has limitations, and also importantly, all the attacks have to target the same target. So it does have limitations, and people are looking at this and they're saying, "Oh, it's crazy busted." Like, no, it's not crazy busted. It's good, but this is like basically Idneth didn't have a battle trait. Really, they have the tides, but the tides are like it's a kind of the equivalent level of like Lumineth if they had a rune, but they had to trade it off every turn, and they only they couldn't stack it. They couldn't do anything. Like, just do one, you can switch it around, but like if that was their only battle trait, it would be like, well, this isn't very good. Like, you need other stuff if you can't even stack them. So this is basically helping bring them into the game. Namarti, we're seeing no play. So it's like this makes Namarti so much stronger. It's like it does. It raises them from like 20% win rate to right around the middle of the pack. Which is a huge jump. Like, this is like, if Firestar's got something like that going up from F tier to like in this area, that'd be huge, right? So it's like a really good spot. I'm actually kind of excited to try it out. It's a good day for Idneth players, I would say. So I think it's going to be, yeah, Doc does seem really, really good. Like, everyone was expecting them to go up like 150, 200 points on their lists, and they went up 80. So, and really only Morathi lists got hurt much. Like, if you're just playing the Shrines and, like, Foot Sisters, which some people were, you went up like 30 points on your S tier army and got like no meaningful nerfs. So that's crazy. But anyway, Idneth is really good. I'm actually excited for the first time in 4th edition to play them. I'm not sure that the average player is going to have an easy time doing this. It's super vulnerable, but like the problem with that has not been whether they can potentially win games. It is miserable. This is fun, and this has a really high skill ceiling, and it's dope. So I think this is a good spot. They're right where they should be, in my opinion. I do wish that Sharks had dropped another at least 20 points instead of 10, like bare minimum. Like that's, and we'll see what the spicy stuff does though. So next we're going into everyone's least favorite army, Caradron Overlords. I think Caradron Overlords were sitting probably solidly in the contenders previously. Caradron Overlords are super cool, but they have a history of being kind of unfun to play against. They just kind of shoot you off the table, or you have too much obscuring and they do nothing, and then they get blown off the table. So that's going to be an interesting one. So I was not expecting to see Caradron points go down. Hi, Bradford. He's trying to step on my keyboard desperately. Because they're already a really strong army. They just have a problem with some maps where there's like too much obscuring terrain. So they would like dominate 3 of their games, and 2 other games they would just get dominated because they couldn't shoot and half their army shooting, and you'd have every single objective on obscuring terrain. And it was just like, okay, well, my army doesn't get to play, so I lose. And then the other games was like, oh, your army doesn't get to play, so you lose. They're still a high skill cap army, like, and there's a lot of skill expression here, but I'm a little bit concerned about the state of balance for them. I think they're going to be too strong. I don't think any rules changed for them that I saw. Yeah, nothing changed for them. So them going down in points, like Von Grimm Salvagers finally became not an abusive problem like 1 patch ago, and they're absolutely solidly fine. Like, and them going down in points while contextually getting really big context improvements. Like, if you're looking at like monsters meta and less tanky infantry, less obscuring, Caradron's going to be in a good spot, right? So, like, I don't think anyone was saying the code right wasn't good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think anyone was saying the Aether Chemist wasn't good enough. I've never heard anyone... Gun haulers were already pretty good. So, they're getting way better. But, on the other hand, Caradron Overlords doesn't take very good advantage of the new, like, end-of-turn fighting and damage prevention rules, like Fight for the Pain. So hopefully their spicy stuff has rules to interact with it, because, like, bonus attacks in a turn doesn't do much for them. The damage prevention isn't as good on them as it is on most armies. Like, yeah, you could keep a boat alive in certain situations and repair it. Like, that's pretty cool. But most of the time, that was, like, not really... I don't know. It's, like, it's good. Ours is useful, but, like, other armies take way bigger advantage. But all that being said, contextually, they're getting so good that... I think I would slide them up into the easy peasy gaming category. I think they're going to be a very dominant force. There's a lot of mechanics that really reward you for being super aggressive, super fast, and shooting a lot. And Caradron Overlords can do that for sure. All right, guys, like, the boys are losing their mind. They must have found something. Oh, it's stuffy. Okay. So they're going to be up in here for sure. And if you're a Caradron player, like, on the other hand, though, I do think, like, there's some really interesting counter mechanics, and you're going to see a lot of anti-shooting tech, so it could be more interesting than this. I would not be super surprised if I'm wrong about this particular one. But we'll see on that. Now we're going into Lumineth. So Lumineth previously were definitely up in the easy peasy category. They weren't quite in the, like, nutty, busted as hell section, but they were definitely way up here somewhere. Mostly, probably like right here. They were probably right here. Because Light of Eltharion was, like, abusively powerful. Like, he just kind of broke the rules of the game. He was too good. He was in, like, 95% of lists and had a very high win rate. And if you weren't playing Light of Eltharion, people would, like, look at you funny, because he's like, why would you not play this busted ass unit? And everyone was the meme was like last battlescroll was like, oh, plus 10 points, you fixed it, you know, like, but they did actually fix it this time. So, where is it? So they updated his Valorous intervention to cost a CP, and that is significant in many ways. So for one, it's a resource you have to spend now, and CP is very valuable. So if you spend a CP instead of just doing it for free, that's a lot, and especially if you're doing it like twice a turn. That's 2 CP that you have to kind of keep up to be able to use the abilities you're doing for free before. So, and with Lumineth, a lot of time you're like counter shooting, you're redeploying, you're counter casting. You want to be able to do all defense. Like there's a lot. You really are quite a CP hungry army. Oh my gosh, guys, chill. And the cats are like just sprinting. So that is significant, but also it doesn't let you do all-out defense in the combat phase because you had to spend it. So if he shows up, there's a much, much higher chance that he dies, as opposed to being a 2-up, 4-up where he's like, he's not going to die. But a 3-up, 4-up is a lot less survivable because like everyone's seen this. Like Light of Therion lives with 1 wound, and you're like, God damn it! Like, hey, if I did 1 more damage, he would have been dead. And this like happens all the time. And now he'll probably be dead because he won't have that CP to save himself. Also, he has to be within 1 inch of the target instead of just in their combat range. So you can't just show up like 2.9 inches back behind a screen with it, so they can't even like pile in and fight him properly. You can't like do annoying shenanigans where you like tag the corner of their unit. Like, there's a lot of annoying things you could do, and there's a lot more counterplay here of not letting him do it at all, because it doesn't have to be just within combat range. It would be within 1, so like you could previously do like annoying wrap things that made it kind of awkward to block his body out. This is much easier to do now. So the Light of Therion, I think, was the problem with Lumineth. I think Lumineth was actually a very fair, balanced army that I have 0 problems with. Maybe like 2 models that had to go up a couple points, but like Sevireth probably need. Well, actually, I think Sevireth is actually fine. Most of his twins, and maybe Lyria or Ulthrall would like need a little bit of point increase. But the light was the problem. Like, Sevireth was fine. He's good, but he's 340 points. Doesn't do that much damage. It's precision damage, but he's very fragile. And if it goes wrong, he explodes. Except the problem is you could charge. You'd move 18 inches, shoot D6 plus like 4 inches movement, charge, drop off the light, power through away. And the light was the problem there. It wasn't that he did that. It was that the light showed up for free. So he's already getting nerfed by that context. It's a pretty big change. Not gonna really worry about the Army of Renown changes because whatever, they're very minor. So like that was enough, but then Lyria Ulthrall also went up points, sure. Lonnie Elthar went up points, sure. Sevireth went up points. I don't think that was needed. But this is like more where you're starting to see like I don't know about that. Like I don't know if Sentinels were too good. I think they were okay. Riverblades are a good unit, but I think they were very appropriately cost. They're super fragile, and 140 points are very fragile with good utility. Dawn Riders, I do not understand this Dawn Rider change. Like, plus 20 points per 5 Dawn Riders seems excessive to me. I don't really understand why. Wind Chargers, I think that's appropriate. Like, it should have been 170 to begin with. I think they were too good, and now they're like right where they really should be, especially with the Light of Therion changes. But you're seeing a lot of cool changes with the Alor Stone Mage, of Eleanor, Big Cow, and stuff like that, going significantly down in points. Their win rates were very low before. Like, Big Cow's win rate was like 27%. Like, it was like bad. And that was partially because they were just too expensive. You just couldn't quite fit enough stuff in your list. Yeah, you're right. Dawn Rider's OP. They did kill a unit. And when someone spiked the dice, like, so I don't know. I think Lumineth Realm Lords went up from here to something maybe like low contenders to me. They're good. They're a solid army. Like, you're not making a mistake by playing them in a tournament, but they're not going to win you games by themselves. They're a very skill-intensive army that you can really do super well with still, but they're not, like, OP at all. They're very, like, thing. I do like this change of... I don't know why Pilgrims of Hyjah was 20 points and Warhouse Duality was 0, when it very obviously should have been the other way around, so I'm glad they fixed that. That's a little nice quality of life change, really. And I'm excited. We did get to see the spicy stuff, but I'm not going to talk about them because I said I'm not talking about that right now. So they went from top of Easy Peasy Gaming to low contenders, in my opinion. Right, which is by the way, a good thing. You want armies to be right around 50%. It may feel good when it's your army that's higher than that, but for everyone, even for your sake, it's better in the long run for your army to stay right around that 50% mark. Because you're still getting to compete, you're still, like, viable. It's just like it's fun for everybody, and it's a better vibe and better balance. Now we're going to Seraphon. So, like, I mean, if anyone's paying any attention, we all knew where Seraphon existed, which was right here. Their war scrolls suck. Like, they're so bad, and, like, they keep giving them contextual buffs and changing rules and stuff like that to help them stay in the game, be alive. But, like, the fucking Stegosaurus, like, whatever it's called, went from like 270 and now it's down to like 160 points. It costs like as much as a shark, and they buffed rules around it too. But as you can see, they dropped a lot of points on some heroes here. Like, I've been saying for like a year that Croak is bad. And the stats have been showing that as well. But everyone keeps bringing Croak. But they finally lowered his points, even though he's taken in most lists, as well as the Astro. So this is like a combo you have to play together. So that combo dropped by 50 points. The Old Blood dropped by 20. Like, a lot of people play Troglodon with Croak as well. So it's a 60-point drop there. Starseers were often playing the same list. That's 80 points down already. And then they also got some... Oh, why are these not, like, in a reasonable order? God damn it. Okay, so I have to go to the top again every time. They also changed some rules with the army, and I think that's going to be more impactful for their win rate than the points will, because, like, points at a certain like, eventually they just kind of don't... Wait, why is there no... Am I blind? I thought they changed something. Maybe I'm wrong, but... I could have sworn I saw something. Maybe I'm just wrong. So someone's telling me they were the thing. Okay, well, apparently they didn't change any rules. But they did get some points drops here. And that's great. However, these changes raise them from here to here. Like, they're not going to win a single extra game with those extra 60 points. And the rules for this GHB do not favor them at all. Like, this GHB wants you to be aggressive. It wants you to have high quality attacks. It wants you to have regeneration. It wants you to have all these, like, abilities that they don't have. It wants you to play in playstyles that they don't do. And their war scrolls are... Okay, but I know that... I thought I was going to swear I changed the asterism, but it's not showing anything for them, which is just weird. Whatever. They changed the asterism. They did buff a rule. That does help them a little bit, probably to be here, like bottom of this area. So I might take delusional, but I don't know where it is, but I did see it earlier. Just doubted myself for a second, but they're still not good. The asterism change is like minor quality of life changes. They got some points drops. You probably fit like an extra unit or something. You're gonna be fighting for your life to get a 3-2 with the army still. They really need a new book. But even if they weren't super weak, this GHB does not favor them. And the previous GHB did. The previous GHB was a good GHB for the army. This one is very much not. You're going to get shot a lot with your monsters. You don't really have super good shooting. You don't really have great anti-monster tech. You're going to be fighting like extremely high damage armies very commonly, and a lot of shooting. And you're not going to be able to hide. You're not going to be able to do anything. Like chip damage isn't going to be super great. Unless the spicy stuff brings them some really strong really, really strong things that really make the army function better. The dinosaurs are losing a lot with the soggy Carnosaur, so I'm not looking great on Seraphon. Going now into... Oh, what's this? Oh, hey, that's good. Because everyone was like, why the hell is this lore 20 points? Like, it's not... So, that's like 80 to 100 points that you can shave off a list. So now you can fit an extra unit of skinks or something. Stormcast. So, Stormcast, in my opinion, they were somewhere around this area, like bottom of easy peasy, at the very high skill level. And their win rate was kind of dragged down to being like middle of the pack or this because they are a starter set army. So they're very, very popular with new players because they get them in their opening packs, and then so they kind of drags their win rate, but their actual potential was pretty darn high. And there's somewhere in the area of like high contenders, low easy peasy. So somewhere in like this area previously. I think with some of these changes, I'm really liking Celsin Prime. The points changes aren't what makes him viable. I think he's super good with the end of turn fighting. Like 2s and 2s, rend 3, damage 4 attacks that he could put in really surgically to where you need them. Super strong. Having a 4-up ward on some of these models and being able to roll the ward and then roll your dice to try and see if you can survive anyway. It's really strong. Lumineth has some of those abilities as well, but Stormcast is much more efficient at doing this and takes advantage of the damage aspects a lot better. I don't think Karazai is going to be super great, but that's mostly because like his attacks don't line up quite right. Multiple moderate damage attacks is generally quite good, but doesn't take advantage of this GHB quite as well. So he's like, he'll be fine. Like, I wouldn't say he's bad, but like you're going to see a lot of people bringing anti-monster tech, and he's not super taking advantage. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. I wouldn't really bring him. I don't think Ionis Cryptborn lines up super great into what this GHB wants. But I could be wrong there, because there is like a lot of like chip damage. Like Place of Power can't heal you anymore, and chip damage, they can chip damage you, and things like that. And a lot of people can be on low wound counts because they're trying to survive with Fight Through Pain, and then he's like doing chip mortals to people. So like he could be better than I think he is. I'm going to be wrong about that, but I don't think he's going to be great. I see potential though, so that could take some more context. Krondys, I mean, like it's just a lot of points to not have a ward save. You know what I mean? Like, and everyone's been saying this forever. Like, 500 points was a lot, and 20 points off of that doesn't change that much. I don't super highly rate it because you're gonna see so much anti-monster stuff in the first couple months because monsters are very strong, like high damage monsters. Yeah, like Karazai is, but the thing is, like Karazai is like a lot more expensive and a lot clunkier and a lot more vulnerable. So, like, because you're gonna see a lot of anti-monster, I guarantee it. A lot of heavy shooting, and Karazai does not want to see anti-monster shooting. Celsin Prime is like, cool, I don't care. I'm teleporting in and then charging you from close up. Kitty, get out of the trash can. God, these. So I don't think Karazai is bad. I just don't think like he's great. He's playable, but he's not gaining as much because of context. There's some like little shiftings around. This is the Lord Vigilance is pretty funny to me, because I think one of them was like 280 to begin with. Now it's down to 160, which is like wild. But the Lord Vigilant Grypstalker is starting to look really appealing to me. At 120, that's really cheap. His profile is quite good. His ability is pretty darn good. That's a significant point drop, and I think he started at like 200. Now he's down to 120. So these two units I think are worth looking into as like nice little like utility pieces, and there's some battle tactics they do really well. So I would look into them pretty closely. Like if you're a Starcraft player, take a second look at these guys. Dracothian changes. I mean, like I think Dracothian Guard are actually going to be a good spot. The sort of things they like to fight will be more present. So I think that's worth looking into as well, and they can hide in terrain occasionally. Uh, I mean, probably correct, but doesn't make them not viable. So I think Stormcast is kind of staying in a very similar spot, but different units are going to be good. The thing I think is going to be really strong with Stormcast is long strikes are big upgrade. Like, it's harder to hide from them. There's going to be way more targets of the type that they like. You're going to be doing a lot, and like the teleportation is going to be really, really nice for a lot of these battle tactics. Like, some of them are crazy hard for most armies, and Stormcast like, oh, that's easy. Didn't have to think. I'm just gonna get all three without even trying. Like, so Stormcast can be really good at certain battle tactics. They're gonna be really good at assassinating monsters. Please stop attacking my trash can. So I think Stormcast is gonna be in a similar overall win rate. Different units I think are gonna probably be good. They would be higher, except for some stuff we haven't covered yet. That's just gonna outclass everything. So Stormcast though is going to be a good spot. Like, if you're a Stormcast player, this is a good time for you. So far, just looking at this, I like this ordering. I'm happy with it still, looking back. Because sometimes, you're entering things, you're like, well, I don't know if that's true. Like, but Stormcast looking good. Now, Sylvaneth, I just want to say, well-deserved. These points changes on them are significant. There's a lot of these point changes. They're pretty hefty. And I think a lot of Sylvaneth players are looking at them and they're going like, oh, my army's getting trashed. Like, no. No, Sylvaneth was actually, at high levels, was here. It was above even Daughters of Cain. Like, if you were a very skilled Sylvaneth player, you were almost literally unbeatable. There was no interaction for the opponent. There was nothing they could do. None of their plays mattered. You just won the game automatically unless you lost it to yourself. Sylvaneth was like beyond broken if you knew how to super abuse it. These points changes, they were like insanely cheap. Like, the fact that anyone thought that some of these units were appropriately cost. Like, who thought Spite Revenants at 80 points made any sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's insane. That, like, 100 points is like still on the cheap end for how good they are. So a lot of these things were like, what are you talking about? Like 140 for the Twist Wield is like, that's a very appropriate points cost. They're not going from good to bad. They're going from broken to solid, like good. Alariel's still incredible at 620. Basically, one of the best units in the game at 620 still. All these changes, like the Warsock Revenant definitely needed this points change. The fact that it was ever 150 is nuts. Like, if you look at like armies like Fire Slayers, they have like a two chant priest who has basically no other text, and he was like 180. With 4-inch move and like no other real abilities. And Warsong had like all this stuff, and it's like, so like, if you're doom and glooming about Sylvaneth, keep in mind that you're basically now entering back down with these points changes into a space that's like a 55 to 60% win rate if in capable hands. The average room is kind of low because Sylvaneth is very, very hard. It's very hard to play optimally. There's a lot of mistakes you can make. When you can do anything, you can shoot yourself in the foot in 10 million ways. So the army went from like crazy broken to just one of the strongest in the game. Like, probably around here, maybe top of here. But that's just with the points changes. The GHB changes are crazy good for Sylvaneth. Like, end of turn fighting with highly accurate higher end damage 5 attacks of Alariel or Durathu. Like, crazy good, right? It's one of the best armies in the game for doing that. Preventing something from dying and leaving it with 1 damage left. Like, Alariel with 1 damage left is basically Alariel at full health. She heals like 2d6 every hero phase and moves almost infinitely. So, like, those abilities are really good. And then the changes to the rules for terrain pieces not being able to be charged, you can just body block people with trees constantly. They can't do anything about it. Like, they can't... And oftentimes, Sylvaneth players, when you get their trees charged, people pile around the tree to slam into you. Now they can't do that. So I think Sylvaneth went from here to here. Right back in the exact same spot. Still the best army in the game. Not particularly close. Well, second best army in the game. There's one other army I think is better. So if you're... Just keep that in mind. Sylvaneth is still, in my opinion, one of the top 3 armies in the game. you should be able to dominate tournaments if you're a skilled Sylvaneth player still. You did get points drops, but the previous GHB wasn't particularly good for Sylvaneth. Like, you can create obscuring terrain when there's not obscuring terrain everywhere. You have good, decent shooting, and there's less obscuring terrain. You have some of the best monsters in the game, and monsters are really good. You can body block things. The battle tactics are easy for you, very easy for you, and they're really hard for everyone else. You use all your abilities super strong, so Sylvaneth is incredible. And I think we'll need another round of similar amounts of nerfs to them to be in a good spot for balance. And let's see. That's all it for Order. So Order overall has a decent spread, but is definitely on the strong end of things, which is no surprise. That's kind of always the case for Order. They usually tend to be on the stronger end of things. It's very rare that Order is not the overall strongest subfaction. Sometimes it's Chaos, but it's usually Order. They just tend to be this way. So but it's not too bad. There's like a pretty decent middle of the pack area. And there's just this kind of the annoying thing is that like two of the top armies were already the two top armies, and we were hoping for changes for that. Now we're going to go into Chaos, and starting with Blades of Khorne. So Khorne was already doing pretty good. I would say Khorne was like a strong contender area, possibly low into easy peasy with certain builds, but really more like this. They had a lot of good war scrolls. They had a lot of really efficient points, like overly efficient points. Like definitely Bloodletters are too cheap at 150. It's pretty hard to argue against that. Like it's really strong. Most of the other units were pretty decently good. They had a lot of viable builds. The Army of Renown both Army of Renowns are viable as well. But there were some units that we're not seeing any play, so I'm glad to see these kind of drop. Like My Lord of Khorne, Realm Gore Ritualist. Like a lot of these things, the mortals need some help, so these do help a bit. I don't think that the Skull Cannon will ever be good unless it goes to like 100 points. Because it's just, the War Scroll is unfortunately very bad. But it is fun at 130. So if you're playing like a more casual level, it is kind of cool to have it. Now it's cheap enough you can run like a couple of them and be annoying with it. The real thing though that I think if you've been paying any attention is Skarbrand. Skarbrand is without a doubt the strongest unit in the game now. His ability to do 2 damage 8 attacks normally with crit mortals is already pretty good. He's already a pretty competitive unit. Like, he's seen very frequently in competitive lists. He's not like dominant in the game by any means, but he shows up quite a bit competitively. And now he's getting the ability to do end of turn 3 additional damage 8 attacks to crit mortals. He's going to just be picking up multiple units a turn. And then if you, in the Army of Renown for the Bloodthirster one, where you can do the end of turn move and then end in the combat, and then that same thing, you can do the end of turn fighting, and then you could power through. So like, he's just going to be an absolute menace, and he's going to be seen everywhere. And the other problem with Skarbrand, so like, the other problem here is that the Army of Renown Skarbrand didn't change in points. It's 390. And in Khorne, he's 430. But you could bring him in any Chaos army for 390. You're going to be seeing this guy in like 90% of Chaos lists going forward. Because he's insane. Like, and also, like, his thing, the more damage he takes, the stronger he gets. And then when you can survive on 1 wound with Fight Through the Pain tricks, he just does even better. Like, he benefits more from the faction, from the GHB than any other model in the game. And it's going to be really funny. It might be brutal. A lot of people are going to get tabled turn 1 and 2, like by turn 2 by this guy. There's also going to be a lot of counter tech to him. But him, and then there's also the Boom Thirster, which I think is this one right here. It's Sensate Rage. It's always, their names are all the same. The Mad Guy, the guy with the big axe. So when he attacks, he does AoE mortals on 6s, and then he's only got like a low number of attacks, but you can give him some bonus attacks to various tricks, and then now you can end a turn fight with him, and he can then do an additional 3 at the end, and then have chances to like spike dice and hit multiple 6s, and you can like end up getting like 9 or 10 attacks on him in a single turn, and you can, if you just land a charge turn 1 with him, you have a decent chance to basically table your opponent with one model top of turn one. It's not guaranteed, but you'll get it like every once in a while. And if you don't, he's still doing a bunch of stuff. He's still doing a lot of damage, still being useful. So like this army to me is going from here to right here. Best army in the game. I think this army is incredibly dominant. It also really benefits from the aggressive playstyle of this GHB. A lot of things will be dying, getting really high blood tide very quickly because they're just dying everywhere, like super lethal. They have a lot of units that want to survive with one wound and keep fighting. They have tons of abilities to like hunt heroes, remove ward saves. There's gonna be ward saves everywhere. They're gonna be able to remove ward saves. Like I think Khorne, if you want to just win games and not have to like work that hard for it, but you'll have a laugh though, is Blaze of Khorne is the way to go. They're crazy. I can't see any other army passing them up in terms of power. I'd be amazed if I was wrong about that. But maybe like some of the Dockers slightly better or something like that. But they're up here in the S tier for sure. I can't remember if they got rules changes or not. I think they may have. Let's see, 37. There's obviously a lot of stuff to digest, so I don't have like everything memorized exactly because we all got the information today for these things. For like, these rules changes. Oh yeah, change the blood letters to be once per turn for their cool little ability. I think that was needed. I don't think it like makes them not super good. I think they're still very good. It's just like pulling back a couple notches on some of the stronger situations you could be in without having to like make the blood letter spam not good. So rules changes I think are appropriate. Some of these names are pretty funny. Blade limbs. Anyway, now we're going to go into Disciples of Tzeentch. So Disciples of Tzeentch, I would say, was somewhere in the easy peasy gaming category. They weren't easy to play, but if you knew how to play them, they got... It was very easy to score super high. Like, you're getting dominated, you still score like 70 points. And it was very hard to stop a Tzeentch player who knew how to play the army from winning, even when you were tabling them. But it's a fun minigame. Like I think the army was extremely fun to play as and against, but definitely too strong. Like their abilities are too guaranteed, too many layers of tricks, too few downsides. So they were definitely sitting like right here, I would say, just below S, like maybe even bottom of S tier, maybe like kind of like this. If you're really really good at them, they were definitely up in this area, but they were very skill intensive. So I'd probably put them like here because you could for sure just lose the game to yourself in a million ways. But I think that they do benefit really well from some of the changes. The damage prevention and the fight through the pain is really, really good on the nerd birds, as Lady Robot said, because you can use fate points to prevent damage. So, what you can, and you don't really want to keep your rage dice too much from what we've seen so far, unless aqshy stuff changes this with Tzeentch. Like, they don't really have super great reasons to fight with them. So what you're doing is like people come in, they hit your guys, and you have a save, and then you have a ward save. And you're going to be spending all your rage dice, like doing and preventing damage. And then after you see all those dice rolls, you can then use fate points to prevent the damage they got through anyway. So killing anything that matters in Tzeentch is going to be like damn near impossible. Like you can, I expect you will see at some point in the next 3 months in one of your games fighting Tzeentch, charge their Kairos, hit him with a bunch of damage, slam through, takes all his saves, takes all his ward saves, over dies by 15 by 10 damage. Like passes ward saves, passes 16 wounds on a 5-up ward save. 10 damage gets through, and he spends 7 rage dice, prevents like 5, and then spends 6 of his fate dice and lives on 1 after you did like 40 damage to him, and then just leaves. And you're like, sick. That was cool. And they're also really, really. But it is actually, the thing is, it is actually really cool. Like, I don't. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be salt inducing, but in kind of a fun way, in my opinion. But I do think that it's going to be extremely strong in the hands of really good players. I think they're also very good at battle tactics. They're super flexible, super reactive. They might struggle a bit on some of the primary because it's more centralized. So you could probably see them probably at this top end of easy peasy gaming. I wouldn't put them in S tier, but I think they're very, very good. One of the best armies out there. You're definitely, but they will not like table people instantly. It's just like you cannot stop them from scoring 70 to 80 points every single game. And because tactics are so hard for most armies, that will be enough in most cases to just score high and not die and keep doing stuff all game. So they're looking good. Their points changes I do think help. If they didn't get the points change, I think they'd be an S tier. These points changes do add up, like to just not having quite as many models on the table. It's not huge, but like Kyric Tome went up 20. I thought the Silver Summoner did as well. Am I mistaken? Maybe not. Wait. Okay, no, it didn't. And I think something changed. I think they changed. But it's so annoying to scroll through this thing. 43. Oh, not really. Yeah, okay, never mind. For some reason, well, I guess maybe it was just wishful thinking. But they really should have changed the Silver Summoner, because this is crazy at 0 points. That's just wild. Kyric Tome, too good. This is fine, I guess. Which is not. So yeah, I thought for some reason, I think I just got in my own head about it. I was like, they could maybe re-raise the points on those, but I don't think the points are anywhere near enough to take them out of that super strong spot. And I do think this was a good change. I don't know why the changing was so expensive in this army. Like it was a little bit much. I'm glad they changed that, but also like Curseling was definitely too good. Classic Thaumaturge, that's pretty darn cheap. A little bit surprisingly cheap. The thing that does bring them down a lot, though, is that Soggy Kyric Acolytes are going away, and they were definitely the strongest unit in that book. So them going away does bring them down a bit, but contextually they get other advantages, and I think removing the protection from shooting helps them a lot as well. So they gain a lot of contextual advantages. They do lose Soggy Kyrics, but I think they're going to be very good. Next we have Hedonites of Slaanesh. So new book came out. It's got a lot of really cool tech. I'm a Slaanesh player myself, but I haven't played any games with it yet. I think Slaanesh was existing somewhere right around this area previously. They had like a pretty okay win rate, but like only a couple War Scrolls were playable at all. And now I think that is not true. I think basically everything in the army is viable. But this is going to be probably a bit of a controversial take. I think they're staying right here. I think they're still middle of the pack. I think they're average in power level. But what really, really changed is that everything in the book is viable and interesting and compelling and fun to play. But it's all very fair. It's all super fair. Nothing I'm seeing is really standing out as like abusive. Like the mask is the only thing that's like kind of cheaty face, as I like to say, like cheaty, unfair strategies, like where you're trying to like not like play a straight up game with your opponent. I think your opponent has tons of agency in every game, so like it's going to be a very 50-50 sort of army. I think there's huge room for skill expression, but also huge room for mistakes. So I think it's going to be middle of the pack. A fair army and a solid. If you like the army, play it. But like, don't switch to it if you're not like a Slaanesh fan. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna okay spot. And I think it's actually in the perfect state of balance. I don't see anything that needs to change so far, unless I'm missing something, or maybe there's like some wording somewhere that's kind of weird. But I didn't see anything that fell off. So, but it yeah, I think it's where it belongs. It doesn't really like have abuse. Like you don't have like long range brutal shooting. take advantage of it. It does have good ways to take advantage of the end of turn fighting, but like not more so than most other armies do. It does have nice tech, but the tech is expensive, narrow, and vulnerable. So like you really have to do it just right. So I think it's just middle pack, but in a good way. And who knows what these ashy things might change that might push it over. Next, we're going into Healthsmiths of Hashut. So Healthsmiths and Hashut were right around the middle, but they were right around the middle in like the worst way possible. Where it's like, man, I can 3-2 to 2-3 every tournament forever. And I will not be 5-0ing or 4-1ing. I'll also not be 0-5ing. I'll be going 2-3 or 3-2 every single fucking tournament. Like, the results were like really funny. If you like looked at the stats, you can see the curve of like the average wins. It was like 2-3 and 3-2 were like giant pillars. Everything else was like, because the army was just like, it was limited by its own mechanics, but also like had a very stable strength to it, but like gave you no real options to like do more. You know what I mean? Like it was so limited. Like its ceiling was super low because of mechanics. They changed one thing about it where they made it basically you're slightly better at getting, especially late middle game, of getting more demonic power. It was just a subtle wording change, but basically instead of it being sometimes 1, sometimes 2, you get 2 every time. Which is like, it's a nice little quality of life change. It will improve. You're seeing some points reductions here, which is nice. I like these points adjustments. I don't know that Demon Smith actually needed... Guys, come on. I don't know if Demon Smith needed reductions, to be honest. I don't think that was required. I think he wasn't seeing play for list space reasons as opposed to power level reasons. But this is one of the armies that gains a lot from the changes to the GHB. For one, surviving, what's it called? Fight Through Pain is very good on Dominator engines. They have 2+ saves and 10 wounds, but like is often a 6+ ward. They have various ways to heal up, and they're super tanky. And like the difference between them living and you being stuck and fighting with them, and versus them dying, is pretty significant. There's a lot less cover to hide behind in this new GHB, and there's a lot more centralized objectives. So Chorfs can kind of march forward and not be punished so hard for it because there's not like all these crazy spread out objectives, and they can shoot the whole game. Or most of the game, at least, because there's not obscuring everywhere constantly. Their little chip damage matters more because you can't just place the power to heal every turn in AoE. Instead, place of powers often hurt you. So their chip damage matters a lot, and there's going to be a lot of monsters and stuff like that around, and they have really good ability to assassinate monsters. They also have really strong short-range shooting that was struggling to see play just because like the GHB did not favor it. I was constantly telling people Infernal Razors are a trap. You shouldn't be playing them. They're bad. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think now they're much better. Because previously you would just stand on objective right in front of you, you couldn't do anything with them. You're like, cool, you spend all these points and all these demonic power points to do nothing. Now they're doing something. So I think Hellsmith of Hashut is going from the worst version of a middle-of-the-road contender to like solidly up in this area. I might even put them above Carriage Run Overlords, but they're somewhere around this area. I think I'm probably right here. It's hard, like right up in that area though. So it's a significant upgrade. I think they're one of the stronger armies in the game. They're still in a fair bandwidth, but it'll be on your opponents to figure out how to beat you now. Like before, you were like trying really hard to not lose. The hard thing with Chorps is they're not very good at battle tactics. The battle tactics are going to be tough for you as a Chorp player. But you're going to be very dominant on the primary. And you only have to score a couple battle tactics and get primary really well to win a game. And you're going to be shooting a lot of people off the table pretty hard and killing a lot of stuff. So, good times to be a Chorp player. Moving forward into Magakin. So I think Magakin is one that people are probably having a hard time reading the quality of. You see these like points drops. These are pretty nice. These are much units that weren't quite seeing play. Mostly because the infantry builds were just very, very, very strong. And you're seeing some of the infantries like Pox Wretches going up, Pestigors going up, Rot Swords going up. That was needed. They were like a little bit too efficient. You're seeing like the Lord of Plagues going up. They also changed it so that the Lord of Plagues ability is once per turn army. Same with the Rot Swords. You're not seeing those 40 or 60 Rot Sword builds anymore. Yeah, the Soggy lore was very important for them. It's staying, which is interesting. I've been seeing a couple things that have stayed. So these changes I think all make sense. I don't see a single change that I disagree with. Possibly I could have seen Sylvan Knights going down 10 as well, but like it's like maybe. Everything else, like, I pretty much agree with these. Festus probably could have gone down another 10 or so as well, maybe even 20, but we'll see, because I have some thoughts on Maggotkin. So Maggotkin are like, oh yeah, like this would be like probably middle of the pack, I think is like kind of the thing about it. You looking at this, I think most people it's going to be somewhere like this, maybe even here for some people, because they're losing the super powerful infantry combos they were doing, but they're gaining a lot of other edges, probably middle of the pack type area. I don't think that's true. I think they are right around here. Maybe here. Something like this. And the reason for that is not super obvious. It has to do with rules changes and certain specific interactions that I think will develop. So, one of the most important ones is that you can't charge terrain pieces anymore. Their terrain piece moves. You could also have multiple of their terrain pieces on the table at the same time. Normally, terrain pieces can't be placed within 3 inches of their terrain piece. Theirs can't, but it can walk right into that. So you can body block sections of the table with trees that people can't charge. You can completely control that area of the table, and that's really strong. The Gardeners of Nurgle Army of Renown can get like 5 or 6 trees in play by turn 2. And they all walk and move, and you can teleport them around, teleport to them, and they make, because you can't see outside 9, like, and the fact that people can't charge them means they can't get free movement off them. It means they can't get past them. They have to walk up and try and fight them, and they bite them whenever they encounter with them, and do like get disease and stuff like that. So that's really, really strong. And at the high level, like really good Nurgle players can shut you out of the game without letting you like do anything. And I think it's gonna be kind of like an abusive situation, like really bad for game health. And that one, funny the first time. But if it keeps happening to you, you're like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to play against 5 moving terrain pieces that all bite me, that I can't charge. They can be base to base with other terrain pieces, so I can't move past them. That's like really crazy. And then on top of that, there's some units that I think use there are some units that use the end of turn fighting really strong, like Glockkin, etc. And the counter charging mechanics really can punish some super aggressive strategies. And they all have ward saves, so surviving ward saves are going to be really nice with Fight Through the Pain. So is regeneration. So if you have regeneration, that's really good with Fight Through the Pain. Some of the regeneration units are going down in points, like Gelgus Pust gives you bonuses to healing, and then stuff like Morbid X Twiceborn, where he heals half of his missing damage at the end of each turn. His weakness was that he was on a 4-up save, and 4-up 6-up could be 4-up 5-up. And you could kill him, but if you didn't kill him, he would heal back so fast it was like nightmare mode. Now you can say, nah, he lived actually. And now he's going to heal 7 at end of your turn. And then he's going to go into my turn, he's going to do some stuff, he's going to heal again, and again, and again. And then you're doing like all that annoying stuff, and then disease is really nice because people are going to be doing, it prevents you from doing those same sort of tricks against you. People are going to be like try to survive with 1 wound a lot of time. I guess like a whole mechanic is like really, really nice. When you have disease on you, that doesn't work. You're like, oh, I survived. No, you didn't. Picked you off anyway. So it kind of denies an entire archetype of strategy really effectively, and I think like they take really good advantage of the rules. They want to fight on centralized objectives. Which a lot of the objectives are closer to the center in this GHB. So I think Maggotkin's in a really strong spot. I don't think everything in Magakin is in a strong spot. I think there's very specific issues, like the top players who like really fucking abuse these things, and it's gonna be fun and funny. But I think the average Nurgle list is not doing that. Probably like more middle of the pack area. So it kind of depends on how you're. Oh my gosh, guys! Cats are losing their mind. The average player is going to be like a fair and balanced army, I think. So and once if they FAQ or something like that, the tree mechanics, then the army will be right middle of the pack, wherever it should be. So going on from Magakin, all these good changes. We got the Skaven, or as I like to call them, Shakavines. Because my first army was Skaven when I was in 7th grade, and my other student called them Shakavines because he couldn't read it properly. But Skaven have been an army that's like good on paper, and then you play it and it isn't. And the reason for that, in my opinion, the biggest reason for that is that they have a lot of shooting that's very potent and very important for the army, and there's too many ways to deny that. Because everything was obscuring. So you're like, nice warp lightning cannon. Too bad it's never going to shoot the entire game. Cool rattling guns. Really strong. Never shooting. So you had all these units that were like theoretically quite powerful, but you could never play with them. Stormfiend's another great example. Stormfiends are like really powerful war scroll. And I actually think this is a mistake. I think like, whew, Stormfiends are going to be brutal. Like, and Warfire Throw is like, you didn't need to do this. Like, all these point changes were very unnecessary because all these units that couldn't shoot before now can. So I think Skaven is going from a pretty like kind of low win rate army, kind of probably like somewhere around here. They are definitely jumping up, probably somewhere to here-ish area. Probably like here. I think they're definitely improving in a significant way. Like their win rate's probably going to jump by about 10%. Yeah. And let me pull up their rule thing. It's 62. Once it loads. They also got a rules change. So they get some like minor changes. Like these are not super crazy, but this is nice. The Claw Lord changes is pretty significant. It allows the Verminous builds to do a lot more damage, like Storm Vermin and Clan Rats and stuff like that. Looking pretty mean. +1 to hit is nice because like before they were just base chain activating. It was like, well, who wants to do that? Yeah, and the warp ambush ability, it was already it was already strong, but I can't remember exactly how it was worded before, but they did get an improvement on the warp ambush, and it feels very Skaven-y, and I think people are gonna feel bad about it, but I actually kind of like it. I think it's thematic. It's empowering the pieces of Skaven that I don't think are all that terrifying. Like the melee is like good, but it like I think the problem is with the shooting armies. I think people are gonna get shot off the table a lot by Skaven coming up. Like for example, a rattling gun unit is 200 points for 6 of them, and they each have 3d6 shots apiece. And they're very fragile, but like they're still really good. But the problem with them was that like you just walk up to them obscuring, and they couldn't counter shoot you off the table. Now they can. You're gonna get a lot of warp lightning cannons blowing you up. You're gonna get reinforced storm fiends that you can't really hide from. They're teleporting around. They're very good at battle tactics, and like I said, battle tactics are harder now. So there's a lot of tactics they can do quite effectively, and they're very flexible in that regard. I think Skaven's a good army. There's still their inherent weaknesses of being unreliable, fragile, a lot of mistakes you could make as a player. So like they're not going to be like S tier, but they're definitely on the strong end of contenders, above average. You will be seeing like a good amount of 4-1s, I think, from them, and occasional 5-0s. they're not autopilot, but they're very good. Next, we're going on to Slaves to Darkness. So, Slaves to Darkness, I think, were the struggling category right around here. Probably, depending on if Dark Oath, I think, was in the not great but playable, maybe middle of the pack. I think Dark Oath was probably like low middle of the pack. The rest of Slaves was probably somewhere between struggling and not great but playable. Probably closer to struggling. And they got some points drops. As you can see, Demon Prince dropped by 20, which I've never seen. I've seen one person ever bring one in a list intentionally, so that's probably necessary. There's some Dark Oath drops. Eternus went down, which is nice. I already thought he was really good. He's one of the better units now in the book, but, you know, I'll take it. Chosen went down by 20 from 270 to 250. This unit's still massively overcosted. They need to go down another 20. They should be 230. 270 was, like, insane. Like, I don't know who thought that point total made any sense. Because they've been sitting at, like, a 40% win rate for, like, a year straight. And at 270 points, they never were doing well. So, going down 20 points, it helps. But the problem is that, like, the current GHB they were going into does not like infantry. There's not obscuring. There's not the advantages they had previously. You're going to be getting hit so hard by, like, stuff like Skarbrand. Like, nice chosen unit. My Skarbrand costs, like, 100 less points than you. It's going to pick up your unit in one turn. And is faster than you and has better utility. So, don't bring chosen. They're, like, this is bait. Chaos Knights, I think, are good. They are decent, and going down 10 points is nice. I think Chaos Knights have a place. Chosen do not have a place. They do not bring them. You'll lose every game you bring them in. They're just going to shoot you in the foot. I like the Fell Rider changes. I like the Wilderfiend changes. These are nice. I'm surprised to see Wilderfiend drop, because I think Dark Oath is good. It's just hard to play. The Veragod changes I don't think change anything, unfortunately. It's nice, but unfortunately the list, it doesn't actually change anything for you. Like, it's all, like, everything's like 10 points over still, or like just doesn't fit. And it's like, I like that it went down, but it doesn't actually have an impact in the game. And they probably need one more points drop. Like, 290 feels too cheap, but the reality is that, like, it doesn't make any game impact until it's another 10 points. So I like that they changed it, but it just doesn't actually have the effect you would hope for. Therodons, I'm a little bit surprised it seemed to go that cheap, because I thought Therodons are one of the best units in the book, but then I realized, well, but Slave sucks. Like, being the best unit in Classic Slaves is being the best piece of trash in a large garbage can. So them going to buy down 10 does make sense in context of the overall win rate. Even if they are one of the better units in the book, I would have liked to see more changes on, like, Mutilith, Mindstealer, you know, Slaughter Brutes, even though they're, like, they don't really want them in the game, but, like, if you're having them, have them. You know, Former Crusher should probably be, like, 100 points or 90 points. Like, those units could have gone down without any risk of problems, I don't think. Chaos Warriors probably could drop 10. There's a lot of stuff that they could have dropped. You are losing the sub-faction that was good, but then isn't good because they raised it by 40 points for no reason. Maybe things help, but I think that Slaves of Darkness is going from struggling to concerning levels of masochism. If you're playing traditional slaves, they got buffs and they went down, and that is because contextually they are terrible for most builds. There is certain things that are good, but they're not the classic ways people play them. Like, I think Dark Oath are good. Like, if Dark Oath I put in, like, solidly the top of middle of the pack for me, for players who are good at it. Like, it's maybe even not quite, not above middle of the pack, but like solid. But it's like that's 3 tiers up to be middle of the pack. You know what I mean? Like, that's a significant increase. Like, Dark Oath are in a good spot, and they're getting buffs here that mean something, and they're contextually decent. Slaves of Darkness, like infantry and tanky armies, like, you're gonna lose. You're gonna go like 1-4 if you fight really hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good. However, Be'lakor looks really nice. Be'lakor's going to be in a really good spot because there's going to be a lot of super powerful units going around the table. Like, everyone's going to be having Skarbrands and stuff like that. So you go, stop. and that's really good. So that could prove me wrong here. Be'lakor carrying some armies, but don't bring him with Chosen. Like, do it with Therodons and stuff like that. It's way better. Or do it with Dark Oath. Yeah, Dark Oath does feel like an entirely different army. They try to include them together, but their mechanics just don't line up together. And, like, you're not really incentivized to mix and match them because they're too much, like why can't a Chaos Lord chain activate into Dark Oath? Is he not enough of a leader to inspire Dark Oath? You know what I mean? Like, they should have had more things interact. Most people are attracted to Slaves of Darkness because they like this, like, brawly, big armored dude who beats you up aesthetic and style, and unfortunately their points just make no sense, and a lot of their rules are like kind of weak. Like and they have way too many limitations. Like they needed to like change the marks of chaos. Like why is Slanesh only during your turn? Like in the modern era, like if Slanesh was during both players' turn, it would help. Why is the Tzeentch mark only one of your Tzeentch marked units? Like you're already spending your battle trait just to get a kind of a bad teleport, like a situational weird teleport in an army that doesn't use teleports all that well. And you're not getting your combat buffs by doing so. So like let people do some cool tricks with that. Like when you compare it to these other armies, like compare it to Sylvaneth stuff. Like Sylvaneth outfights Slave of Darkness and can teleport everywhere. And the points are just nonsense. Like at 230, Chosen would be like approaching viable play. 250, they're still really bad. 230, they'd be like coming up kind of close-ish to 50% win rate type unit, maybe a little bit less than that. So it's just a rough spot for them. I do think Archaon will be good. The problem is that Archaon is very expensive, and there'll be a lot of anti-monster tech. And his attacks are like not better than other armies' versions of stuff like that for way less points. I think you're going to be really seeing a lot of like cheaper monsters that overperform because the lethality is going to be so high. Like Archaon does not live through Skarbrand now. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he might kill him, but if he doesn't kill Skarbrand, Skarbrand will kill him instead. And part of the thing about Archaon is he's got 25 wounds, like, but the damage is going to be so high, and there's going to be so much anti-monster type tech that I don't think you should bring him. But Be'lakor is good, so it's something. If you like Dark Oath, I think like I'm probably going to be playing Dark Oath to a pretty. They're one of the 3 armies I'm considering for myself moving forward into this GHB because I do think they are quite good, and they are very capable of winning a tournament. So, but traditional slaves, people are looking at this for. Really, really bad. These points don't help them. That's all the Chaos armies. So now we're going to Death armies. Death armies... Flesh Eater Courts was doing pretty good. I think Flesh Eater Courts was something like... somewhere around like kind of here-ish. High contender. It wasn't broken, but it was doing pretty good. It is losing a lot of stuff that was making its monsters super busted, and its win rate was actually probably closer to like here. Its win rate was like high 50s, like approaching 60, but only with specifically dragon builds. The dragon's going up by 20, which I would have agreed with, except for that they are also like losing all those like crazy buffs. They're giving them like multiple bonus attacks and plus what to hit all the bites and stuff like that. However, they're also really, really good at using the end of turn bites with a chance to do 6 mortals each time on fairly cheap bodies. Like if you're looking at like the actual regular dragons, like even at 260 like or 240 for this guy, like he's still very good because you're basically getting to add 3 extra attacks on this really, really strong profile and cheap body. So that's still really viable. I very much think that the flares are the shooting ones, right? They have to be, right? Yeah, they're the shooting ones. Flares are going to be nuts, dude. Like, they're super good. They're really good at shooting monsters off the table. It's going to be hard to hide from them. That's only made it stronger for them. I think that Flesh Eater Courts is going to be probably, depending on a lot of things, probably strong end of contenders here. Maybe slightly right around here. Yeah. I think they're going to be in a strong spot. They're not going to be abusively strong. but really good players will be able to dominate tournaments with them. They're not going to carry you on their back like they were for a while with the Terror guys. You could like just do whatever you wanted and win games when they were at like that 70% win rate for a while. They're not going to be doing that, but they will be doing something not that much worse than that, but more punishing, and there will be more anti-monster tech around. So I think contextually might suffer from that a little bit. But they're really good at battle tactics because they come off the board edges and stuff like that. They can score things in weird ways. They're very aggressive, so they're going to be able to play the battle tactics nicely. They might struggle with the centralized objectives, though. So that's kind of where I'd put them for Flesh Eater Courts. Something like this. Then we're going into... Oh yeah, this is nice too. Like, I don't know why they didn't necessarily need to do this last time. They really should have just done this right off the bat. But, and they have these, like, other sweeping points drops, so some of these more fair... Oh, importantly, Nagash going down to 80 points. That is much needed. I'm glad it wasn't, like, a 20-point decrease. Like, when's the last time you saw Nagash on the table? Especially in, like, Flesh Eater Courts. You know, like... So dropping 80 points is big. Now he costs the same as Marathi after she went up 20, and now he's almost as good as Marathi is. So, you're actually, like... You might consider him. I don't think he's necessarily the best in Flesh Eater Courts, but there are some cool things you can do with him in Flesh Eater Courts. I don't think he's bad in Flesh Eater Courts, and I'd be curious if people do. I wouldn't say he's gonna like raise your win rate by including him, but he is worth considering now that he's dropped 80 points. So if you want to play him, try it out. It might be pretty dope. Now we're going into Night Haunt. Night Haunt, the spooky boys. This is one that I've been arguing with people a lot about. So Night Haunt, we're existing. They've been existing somewhere right around here, something like that. I should actually move these guys a little bit down like this. Sorry, right around here. People keep telling me that Night Haunt are going to be good. But when I question them on it, they can't explain why. Like, well, you can survive with the units and bring back models. Like, sure. But, like, the models you're bringing back aren't good. And the ones you're keeping alive aren't doing anything. They are getting these sweeping points changes. Like, this guy already dropped 20 last battlescroll. Another 20. Like, a lot of these he's already dropped. This is still too fucking expensive. I don't know why he's 160. Like, this guy could be, like, 140. Scriptor Mortis... kind of interesting, but it's probably still not good. But Black Coach went down 20, sure. Blade Guard was going down 10, so they went from wildly overcosted to wildly overcosted. Dreadhead Harridans went from wildly overcosted to wildly overcosted, still unplayable in a competitive sense. Grimghast Reapers, same thing, just way too expensive. Like, when you look at these units at a 6-up, 5-up, for 21 6-up, 5-up, you're like, oh, it's so good. It's like, is it though? Like, because Plague Bearers are 6-up, 5-up, 130, -1 to hit, have pretty strong mechanics, don't require support, and yeah, your unit's better, you're faster, and you hit a little bit harder. Not even that much harder, but a little bit harder. And then you're 60 points more per 10 after this points drop. This is the reason why the army is so bad right now. Like, it feels bad, because you're like, why the hell is this unit so expensive? Like, Dreadside Harridans or Grimghast Reapers, like, they should be like 170 for like trying to get them to be like a 50% win rate type army. I don't understand why they're so expensive, but they did have like certain things that made them like decent at scoring. There's a lot of games where you could win with by like 2 points with Night Haunt. Sometimes you'd sneak out a lot of wins that way, barely surviving. I never once saw Night Haunt dominate a game. The entirety of since this new book came out, because it's so expensive. But I've seen them sneak wins. So when it was like ranked 45%, almost exactly, and it was a miserable 45%. These points do not help that, and this new GHB is incredibly bad for them. Like, worse than almost any army in the game, because like you're like, okay, cool. If I survive with like a model, I can bring my guys back. It's like, yes, but unfortunately, end of turn fighting with damage 5 attacks will be everywhere, and you will not be surviving with one model. Like, 5 damage potential is a lot greater than a potential for 1 prevention. One prevention is really good because of clutch moments. Sometimes you can keep like a really important thing alive that hits super hard back, kills everything back. Damage prevention matters in like clutch moments, but as far as like raw statistical advantages, it's significantly worse. So Night Haunt is a statistical advantage army and is not getting statistical advantages there. It doesn't use the bonus stacks well at all. Like there's nothing I can think of that's worth spending much rage on. Enemy opponents' damaging is going to be increasing by like 30%, and you're not really gaining anything in that process. There's going to be a lot of shooting. That Hound does not like getting shot. And shooting's going to be very present, so that's contextually really bad for them. They're not super great at a lot of the battle tactics. I'm sure they can score them, but like it's not great. There's nothing good coming in for them. I think they are going to drop from not great but playable down into concerning levels of masochism, even below Slaves of Darkness, because I don't see any way they can win games. The only exception to that is I do think that Nagash is good in Night Haunt, and he dropped by 90 points in Night Haunt. That Nagash builds, I think, might be the only way to play Night Haunt that you can actually have like a chance at fighting and winning games. And I think they might. If I'm wrong about Night Haunt, it's because of Nagash. So if you really want to play Night Haunt, try Nagash builds. Unless something really crazy for ashy stuff comes out or spicy stuff comes out, this is an army I would say don't play for the next 3 months. Wait till some other stuff gets patched. The strong armies get brought down because it's just a rough spot. Unfortunately. Ossiarch Bone Reapers. There's a lot of laughing going on about some of these points changes. I do think most of the changes are good. Like the Caval's War Chariot going down to 150 I think is nice. I think it's kind of playable at 150. I don't think it's great, but I think it's playable. These changes are like nice little quality of life changes. A couple of Stalkers going down 10 I think is a nice quality of life change. It's not going to really change builds too much because like you only really bring them as MSU because they have a cool ability, not really like a stat unit, but like, hey, 10 points is 10 points. They're already decent. Mortis Reapers going up 20 I do think is justified. They're a very strong unit. The annoying thing is that like other units that have a similar power level didn't. Like we're looking at like Spite Revenants, for example, went from 80 to 100 and probably should also be like 110. Like the Canary that didn't go up should have also gone up. Like so a little bit annoying to see that like they recognized the problem with OBR, which was not doing anywhere near as good, but then with the Elf army they didn't. That was frustrating for me to see. Catacross going down 30. I saw a lot of laugh reacts going on about that. It helps, but he came out wildly overcosted. He's got a good War Scroll, but it's not a 500 point War Scroll. So he probably needs to drop, like if he drops another 30, you could start seeing him. It probably needs to be close to like 420 in my opinion. But 440, 450, like okay, maybe we're like fitting him into lists. Like you see him from time to time. Like he's a good War Scroll, but he's just like too expensive right now. This is not enough to make him good. It's a decent step in the right direction. 30 points is not insignificant, but like I don't think he's quite there yet. And like you're seeing these kind of points drops across these things, and I like these points drops. The problem is that like these points drops aren't really getting you to a different build or getting you to like not quite enough to kind of like the what do they call it, the Says Darkness super powerful cavalry guys with down 10. It's like that's nice, but the lists don't quite fit still, so you can't quite do what you want to do. And if they went down another 10, you'd be like, okay, now we're talking. Not because they're too expensive, because the list doesn't fit. I think I'm kind of seeing some stuff like that with OBR, where like these are good changes, but the builds that you would want to do don't really change that much. Like you can't quite do what you want to do still. I might be wrong on that. I'm not an OBR expert. I'm just like kind of pay attention. There are some good things here though. Like these are meaningful. I do think you might see some chariots around. This guy's still too expensive though. 210 is like too much for this guy. Like these guys, I think 150 is like not the worst for these guys. They actually have a pretty good ability and they're tanky and decently fighty. But the hero's like overcosted still. So like if he was down, the 150 might be enough. If he was like 190, like, okay, we can see some chariots doing some cool stuff here. I think you need another round of these buffs for these, because like OBR came out like a good book, but like the points were just wrong, and this helps. But I think right now, given some of their vulnerabilities and given what you might be starting to see, I think they're kind of in this category. But on the up, like, they're not great. They are playable. Like, you're not gonna like ruin your day by bringing them to a tournament, but you're gonna have to fight harder than other players are gonna have to fight. I was a little bit surprised to see the Gash did not drop at all in OBR. Like, he is like, he was good in old OPR, but I don't think he's like particularly scary in new OBR. So I was surprised to see that he didn't drop there. Just weird. Like, he went down 80 or 90 in all the other ones, and they didn't change here, which is kind of just an odd one, because I haven't really seen him in the new book being played. Maybe I'm wrong there, though, but that's just kind of a weird one. I think they're going the right direction, but they're not really taking very good advantage of the damage prevention or end-of-turn fighting in most cases, and the builds that would be, the points aren't quite right yet. Like, I think after 3 months, this army will probably see another round of similar buffs, and jump up into the middle of the pack, maybe even contender zones, as well as some of these stronger armies getting toned down a little bit. Right now, I think they're just a little bit on the soft side, but not to the point where like it's a bad experience to play them. One thing I would have liked to see also is that Immortus Guard, even though they're like a requirement for the army to work, just because the army doesn't work without them doesn't mean they should be overpriced. They should have dropped like to like 10 points or 20 points, probably 10 points, maybe 20. Just like. Yes, the army has to play them, but it's kind of like Chosen was played a lot, but the army isn't good, so like you can still drop its points. This is a little bit of a personal gripe. Also, Gothazar Harvester is needs to go down. This feels unnecessary, but whatever. Soulblight Gravelords. So Soulblight, I think, in my opinion, Soulblight was like the definition of middle of the pack. It's very fair army. Always kind of has been a very fair army. You can see the Gash did go down to 750 here as well. I don't know where I didn't get that. They got a lot of like points drops on units that weren't quite seeing play, except for Lakovai was seeing play, and so was Manfred. So I was like, and so is Vangorian Lord. So again, I was like, what's going on here? Like, these are units who are already seeing heavy play and considered some of the best units in the book. Why are we seeing points drops on these units? I think it is Scourge of aqshy, Vangorian Lord, which is interesting. Barrow Knights have been seeing heavy play and also down in points. The Draconith didn't, but like, cool. But he didn't really need a points drop. He's getting some contextual buffs here. I think he was fine. What didn't drop that sees almost no play ever is Death Rattle Skeletons, which I have not seen anyone play successfully in a while. Direwolves haven't really been seeing significant play, so why did they not go down when like all these units that see heavy play? I just think it's weird. Like, why do they keep not changing the stupid vampire sub-faction that everyone plays 100% of lists? You know, like, it's since it came out, like 90% of lists have been the same sub-faction. The vampire one. And they've never changed the points on it the whole time. And they keep buffing vampires, and vampires are the only things that see play. Like, when's the last time someone brought a Mortis engine? You know what I'm saying? Like, why did that not change? Like when's the last time someone didn't bring a Vangorian Lord? I don't understand these changes. They don't make any sense to me at all. Like, I look at this like, this is weird. Like, just, what the hell's going on? And then, like, the units that are already going to be good are the ones that are already getting buffed as well. So I don't get it. Like, they're getting contextually buffed, but it is good for the people who like those units. I may disagree with the changes, but if you like these units, you're moving up a little bit, probably to, like, here-ish. If you don't like those units, you're going down to, like, here. Or maybe here. Probably like here. So if you're trying to play skeletons, you're trying to play zombies. Zombies would change, but this is obviously without, like, we could see other things change here, because, like, but from what I'm seeing, like, nothing that wasn't seeing play did anything but get worse. And everything that was seeing play got buffed. Which I find very frustrating personally, because I don't know. I like skeletons. I like zombies. That's what appeals to me about Soul Blight. I have some Soul Blight. I never play them because vampires are the only way to play them, it seems like, and I don't really like the vampires as much. I've never brought them to a tournament because, like, I like skeletons, dude. Like, I think the spooky, scary skeleton march is sick as hell. And they've just been terrible for, like, ever. And they just keep buffing vampires, and all you ever see... I have not seen a skeleton list in 4th edition. Ever. Not once. And they don't buff them. And this is what I'm getting heated about. But anyway, depends on what you're playing with Soul Blight. There's somewhere from, like... contender down to struggling. I'm gonna put them kind of in this category, top end of not great but playable, like probably like 47%. Yeah, I know, right? Like I've got like I don't even play them, and I've got like sitting around like I want to run zombies and skeletons. God damn it! Like that appeal. I want the spooky swarm coming out of the graves. But whatever. That's just me getting heated about a passion thing. If you like vampires, they are going to improve, but I think that a lot of other armies are improving more because of other changes. Like, and I think you're not suffering, but you aren't benefiting as much as others are. So I'm putting you down from middle of the pack to top of not great. Did they get rules change? Maybe did I miss? Let me see. Maybe there was like something that helps these dirtily grindy armies a little bit. It's down 66. Let's see. Meanwhile, we're gonna be starting destruction, but I don't think it's going to change any of the things I was saying about that. So, Destruction Time! The best Grand Alliance. All the cool kids Grand Alliance, where we don't read and we fight a lot. So, I'm a big Destruction bro. Gloomspite has been not doing great. Low end of struggling, I would say. And worse yet, just boring. Just like they just lost all their flavor. They had some really cool rules in certain parts of the army, and they nerfed those really hard, which was deserved. But like nothing else got any rules that do anything. They keep going back to this like keyword bingo and like overly restricted thing with destruction armies. It is like why, like for example, the giant spiders when they charge, it's once per turn army to do a bad D3 mortals on the charge, as if that's like a good thing. You know, like it's like why all these restrictions. So they've been like suffering because they have a bunch of stuff like that. And they're fundamentally very fair. They struggle with battle tactics in many of the lists, and they're just not mathematically strong enough. But when they are, they're too good. Like, and they keep making like situations where they'll have like plus 2 attacks and +1 to wound, all this stuff on these squigs, and then they're dirt cheap and they explode and kill everything, or they make them useless. Trogs, I think, have been solid. Spiders are basically squatted. They haven't been good in like 6 years. They haven't even been vaguely good. I don't know why they even still have the models if they're going to just do that to them. They've been like 20 to 30% win rate for 6 years straight. So it's been very frustrating for Gets players. But you're seeing a good amount of buffs here. Trug dropping, Dankle Trog buffs dropping, some of these web spinners dropping, some small quality of life changes like being able to fit different things into the regiments. These are nice. Like the Loon Boss on Mangler Squigs is at 140, which is just insane to me. That unit is actually good, and the fact that it's 140, like, how could it be that cheap? Just bring 5 of them. You know what I mean? Like, even if they can only use their ability once per turn, like, it doesn't matter. It's so cheap. If you bring 5 Mangler Squigs on things, and then you're seeing there's a bunch of other sweeping changes of drops, and this is the thing that keeps happening with the kids. They give them really bad rules, and they make them so cheap that you can abuse the fundamental mechanics of the game. Like, this is kind of crazy. Like, you're starting at this point of cheapness where, like What do you mean I can bring 20 shooters for 110 points? Um, that's a lot of models. Like 220 points for 40 guys who shoot. And you can also just fill the entire table. Like, it's crazy, but then people don't want to play it because it's like, but all my models suck and don't have any cool rules. So it's like, that sucks. But also importantly, Doom Diver Catapult went down another 10, and contextually got buffed because shooting improved. So Doom Diver Catapult is going I think is gonna be like actually good now, which makes a lot of other things good. Part of the problem they were suffering from was that like you had all these gets, you could like make walls of lines of these goblins, and then what are you doing with that? Right, you're just like, cool, here's goblins. You're like, and like the Doom Diver was like 100 and it was like 200 points or something, and it wasn't very good, and it couldn't shoot you most of the time. Now you can put lines of goblins and stuff, and fanatics and annoying tricks like that, and be shooting a Doom Diver and actually shooting things with it, and it's getting cheaper. It's gone down like I don't know. I think it's like 230 to begin with, and now it's like 150. So it's dropped like 80 points, and now it can shoot things, and that's big. Like that's a really significant change. More so than just the fact that like, oh, it's cheaper. The archetype works now, so I'm expecting the goblin builds to go from like here-ish to maybe here to here area. Spider riders are still here, and I don't think it's ever going to change. I think squig builds probably here, but if you're doing super abusive stuff, if you have 6 Mangler squigs, you could be doing a lot stronger. Like you could be like sitting up in this kind of area, which seems really silly, but like when they're that cheap, and they have their swingy damage output, but they're so cheap that you don't care if it works. You throw them in all over the place, and you just trade them, and like then you have a bunch of other things going in and slamming. You're just trading units and rolling tons of dice, so that's pretty cool. A lot of trogs went down in points, and they were not doing great before. So trogs were kind of existing probably top of struggling area, low grade, not very playable. I think they're kind of coming up into sort of this area, maybe middle of the pack for trogs. Somewhere between here and here, like here or here, that range, I would say. They're not like terrifying, but the Dinkel Trog boss is pretty darn good with end of turn fighting. The healing is pretty good with the prevention. I don't think they're like abusing the mechanics necessarily, but they're doing a good job of using them. And they did get this new rule that people have been talking trash about, but I think it's a lot higher impact than people are realizing. I'm going to pull it up right now. 47%. 47% page. What was that percent? And here it is. So they got this new rule, Creeping Gloom. It's just an added extra rule. So it's not replacing anything. It's just extra. You can hide your monsters and non-monster, non-war machine gets next to terrain features. You get to pick a terrain feature and hide your guys. That's really helping a lot when it comes to certain types of units like the squigs. So squigs are also getting a nice little pump up, right? Like them going up kind of from not great area down over here to kind of more in this area. So I think these changes the points are nice. The contextual changes, I think, help them in many ways, and the extra battle trait helps the ones that doesn't help that much. So I think they're actually in a pretty good spot for the first time in a while. And so I think it's a good time for Gets players. Obviously, it's all depending on ashy stuff and spicy stuff, but like, it looks good. They're not going to be abusive, but like it's not going to feel frustrating. I don't think in the same way it was, where it's like, man, my army just feels so flat and like I'm just disadvantaged all the time. Now it's like, no, I'm actually a very serious contender and I'm even footing in most games. I have to play well, but like there's a lot of tools you can do, a lot of approaches you can do, as long as you're not playing spiders. Even though spiders all dropped in points, like they remain in F tier garbage, poopy butt doo doo. So don't play spiders. Just let Games Workshop get rid of them at some point, because they clearly don't want them to be good. And like, you would, if they did, they would have made like an ashy one, you know, but there's not, so they're not probably getting anything. So going on to Iron Jaws, which I am very much a specialist in. I would say that Iron Jaws have been kind of right around low contenders tier to middle of the pack, somewhere in this area, depending on the build, depending on the playstyle. The infantry ones were kind of more like our boy style is more like here-ish, but they're kind of in the middle of the range. A lot of skill expression in the army. Like, if you're really good, you'll win a lot more games. If you're not good, you'll lose like a lot of games. It's true for every army, but the skill expression to win rate and Iron Jaws is like a straight. The Venn diagram was like a circle. So you could like 5-0 with them reliably if you're a very good Iron Jaws player, or you would 0-5 with the exact same list reliably if you don't know how to play them properly. So like, I think they're a very well balanced army in that regard. Where like, they didn't feel abusive, but it's like that. So they're entering that situation pretty good. Here we're seeing some changes. We got the Ardboy Big Boss and Mega Boss on foot dropping, which is good. Weird Brute Rekka is dropping. Yeah, I don't know why they raised them. One player went 4-4 at Worlds with 15 Rekkas and 3s just to be annoying scoring units, and they immediately nerfed him. It's like, I don't know if that was necessary. But you are losing the Soggy Rekkas, which were a mainstay of all the infantry builds, so that's kind of hurts. But you're getting some points drops here and there. The Tusk Boss and Hack and Crew going up in points makes sense. Right now, the Tusk Boss is already like probably the best unit in the army. That's debatable, but like definitely top 3 for sure. Very strong unit. I thought it was undercosted the whole time. I was surprised it was so cheap. And then gaining the ability to fight end of turn with these Tusk attacks that are super, super strong on cheap bodies that are very mobile was going to be a problem. Like, obviously. Like, it was going to be like damage 5 attacks exist on things, but most of them that do it are like Alarial, like a 620 point model. When you have a 200 point model, like Gougers, which I'm surprised Gougers didn't go up, because Gougers are already way better than Hack and Crew. Like, if I had the same War Scroll for the same points, like if I had the same point cost, choosing a Gouger and a Hacking Crew, I'm choosing Gouger every time. At least for the first 2. The third one I might take a Hacking Crew, but like, so them not going up in points is odd to me. But if you're an Iron Jaws player, it's a good thing for you, because you should be bringing at least 2 Gougers in every list, and you should still be bringing a Tusk Boss. Tusk Boss 2 Gougers is how your list starts, I think. In this new GHB, I think they're moving up from kind of strong middle area to... I think they actually might be here. I think they're one of the better armies in the game, if you're playing pigs. If you're playing infantry, I think we're talking about struggling tier. If you're like brutes and Ardboys and stuff like that, even though they did just get some buffs, your strongest synergies got removed with the Soggy Rekkas. You're losing Brute Fist, which was kind of helpful for some of the more utility-oriented ones. And the GHB does not favor tanky infantry, so I think you're down in struggling tier with the infantry builds, but the big pig builds are up in here. I think you're not going to see people even playing the infantry builds much, so I'm just going to put it here, because I think it's a better representation. Like, if you're playing to the meta that you kind of expect, if you're trying to build the best one for the GHB, you're going to be up here. It's a really good spot for Iron Jaws. They're also really good at fighting monsters and stuff like that, and they're very, very good into shooting. They always have been. If you know how to play Iron Jaws, shooting matchups are like a breeze. It's like you're a counter to shooting armies. So, like, historically, like, one of the hardest counters for Caradron has been Iron Jaws. It doesn't seem like it on paper, but it is. So this is pretty good, pretty darn good. I don't think they got rules changes unless I missed something, but I don't think so. I'm going to double check, though, just in case, so I don't just lie to everybody. Load in. Oh, yeah, this is Scroll Boy stuff, so. Cruel Boys, yeah, they're going to be in a good spot. So here we go to Cruel Boys. So Cruel Boys have been doing kind of a little bit below average. They've been sitting around in the not great but playable to maybe middle pack, probably more like here. Cruel Boys is getting some points reductions. Some of them are like, what the hell is going on here? A 30-point drop on Swap Boss Scumdreck? Like, I even started at like 280 and now it's 150. 150 is too cheap for that model. Like, I was already playing him and very happy with him at 180. I know some people weren't, but I was loving it. The stuff I was testing. Snatch Boss 180 should have been the same as each other. Like this one I agree with. This one I do not agree with. That is too much. That is like a problem. This I think is appropriate. I think 130 is actually the right cost for this model. I love people talk shit about it, but I actually think it's a decent model. It's just that it's kind of awkward in some lists, and the soggy one was way cooler. This I don't think was needed either, because the context Beast Skewer kill bows are getting so much better going into this GHB that like you did not need to reduce the points on these guys. This is unnecessary, and I think will lead to some feel bads. This I do think was necessary. Gut Rippas were being carried very hard by a sub-faction that we lost. So they did need this. The points drops pretty dramatic though. I know it's all green. Here's the other thing. They changed Dirty Tricks. Ruthless Dirty Tricks. They changed Venom Encrusted to be once per turn army any hero phase instead of yours only. They changed Sneaky Sneak and the Teleport to be any hero phase. Which, if you started 4th edition, you played against Cruel Boys, you remember why they changed that. That was disgusting. Like, and you're going to see some really, really stupid mechanics. And there's certain battle tactics you cannot ever score against Cruel Boys now. Because they will just say, oh, you want to catch my guy, what's it called, the Fugitive? You're never catching him. I'm going to move him every turn, teleport him to a different corner of the table every single turn. You will never score your battle tactic, no matter what you do. Unless I rule 1. So a 2-up, you never score a battle tactic. Pretty stupid. Gobsprack, he now can do his Screaming Mandrak, which was where he unbinds on 3d6. He now always does that. And whenever he unbinds a 10 or more, he does d6 mortals to you. That's really good. That's a huge buff. Like, the reason people weren't taking him is like, why would I pay for like this once per turn unbind roll? Now he's just an unbinding machine, and he's cheap as chips. Like, he's so cheap because he keeps dropping his points that I was playing him, even though I thought he was good. It's just that people didn't want to play him because the ability felt stupid. It was frustrating to read. It like pissed people. Like, and I understand that. Like, I get that feeling. But he was already pretty good. He just was annoying to read the War Scroll and be like, why would they do this to his ability? Now he's like insane. One of the better units out there, up in the top 5 units in the game, in my opinion. His tail attacks are super good with the end of turn attacks, so he goes from like not doing much damage to actually being able to lift most small units quite reliably. And they have all these sorts of annoying tricks that are really good into the aggression. You have anti-shooting tech, you have anti-monster tech, you have good shooting, you have good monsters. Cruel Boys is solidly up in S tier. I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's too good now. I'm worried that it will be exceptionally dominant in the hands of skilled players, and in a way that is kind of feels bad. I think its win rate's going to be through the roof. It's going to go from like a 40-ish percentage to like a 60-ish percentage, in my opinion. And their shooting has always been pretty good, but you couldn't shoot anything because everything was obscured, and so it got stupidly cheap because you couldn't shoot it. You couldn't shoot people. And now their shooting is stupidly cheap, and you can shoot people. And you can hide their shooting from enemy shooting. And you can hide their monsters from enemy shooting. So, and you have monster killers. I mean, you bring monsters, you're like, monsters, you don't get to do anything. And Beast Skewers are disgusting. They have lots of screening units. They're highly mobile. They can deny battle tactics like nothing. They can score battle tactics super easily. They can do any of the 6 battle tactics reliably. And every single unit, in my opinion, is viable except for doing like the Gut Rippas build you were doing before is probably not good. They don't do Gut Rippas spam with support pieces, but other than that, like you can build however you want. Soggy Dog is going away, but like the regular dog I still think is decent if you want to play that like more beatdown style things. He's pretty decently fighty. He's fast. You can score battle tactics with him if you want to do that battle tactic. Like there's a lot of, they're really really good. They might just be like the top, but I think they might be S tier. And that's exciting for Cool Boys players. But in my opinion, more exciting is that because being S tier, it sounds really fun, but it actually kind of sucks. So you don't really want to be S tier because everyone like moans and groans, has a bad time in your games. But the really exciting thing about it is that the units that you've been wanting to play the whole time now can be played. The army now feels like Cruel Boys. And that's why I wasn't playing them before, because it's just like, what's the point of me playing a tar pit army of stat checking with wound density and giving me strikes last? Like that's not Cruel Boys. This is now Cruel Boys. Lots of tricks, lots of movement, teleporting around, shooting people, assassinating, being annoying, flying around with vultures and giving buffs with monsters, sending in cheap little disposable death machines that are unreliable, but when they hit really hard. Like there's a lot of really annoying things here, so I think this army's fantastic. Then we have Ogre Maw Tribes. I think Ogre Maw Tribes currently have been kind of in the easy peasy gaming category, somewhere around here. These got real cheap and they charge well and they fight well, and you can just pick up a lot of armies that way. I think that contextually they're getting significantly worse. Obviously, they're getting a book coming up, so everything's gonna change about this. I'm not gonna harp on them too long because it's like not super relevant. It's gonna be like less than a month probably until they get a book. But I think just the changes are bringing them all the way down to kind of this category, because it's. You can't, like, before part of things, we could slowly advance on people with these big bricks, and you'd be hiding in terrain, and they're all infantry, but they're, like, really, really like, a lot of wound density, and they couldn't whittle you down with shooting coming in, and you'd hit them so hard when you got there, because they couldn't whittle you down, they couldn't shoot you, your saves were bad, but it didn't really matter, because you were hitting them first, when you charge in, so now they're going to get shot a lot more, which really hurts that strategy. I think that, their wound density is going to be less relevant because when people come in with like these high damage units, a lot of time they'd kill like half the squad. Now they're going to kill like 3/4 of the squad. And it's just like one of those things where like the strengths you're wielding are less good now. And the tactics are probably fine, but they're slightly harder for you. But like I think they're just a little bit like. Contextually, they're losing a lot, and other armies are gaining a lot of advantages, and they're not getting quite as much. The BCR stuff, it's just they're getting some advantages, but like not as much as other armies are getting, and they're currently like overpriced a little bit, and like don't quite match up to modern stuff. But we're getting a new book in like a couple weeks for them, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And they didn't get any points. They didn't get any points changes or anything like that for obvious reasons. And we'll see what these are when it happens. Lastly, we have the Sons of Behemoth. So, Sons of Behemoth have been sitting right around here for quite a while now. Their army fundamentally has some issues with balance because they only have 2 models. Pretty hard to balance a 2-model army. On the other hand, though, this is a GHB that really rewards you for having high damage individual attacks. It's really good with these monsters and stuff like that. The problem is that Gargan's attacks aren't actually good. They're extremely unreliable. And they're not really a damage army. They've always been like a control score, runaway, high wound density on select models type army with like cool tricks, and occasionally you could burst damage people, but most of the time you didn't. Because you would just die. So That's not changing. In fact, that's getting significantly worse because people will now much more reliably kill your Gargants. Like a skarbrand coming into a Gargant usually wouldn't kill him. It would just do a lot of damage to him. Now it will kill him every time. Right? Like, Alariel will, like, one-shot a Gargant a lot of time now. But previously, you should just hurt it. So you're seeing, like, a big pig coming in, a 200-point big pig, charging in, doing a bunch of damage to a Gargant. If he doesn't kill that big pig back, and then you get 3 extra Tusk attacks into him, that extra 15 damage potential, and it's not guaranteed, but, like, it's not guaranteed for the Gargant player either, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, they're in that game, they're kind of losing, because they're hitting on 4s, and a lot of these armies are hitting on better, or they're way cheaper. And their a lot of attacks are like damage 4 or damage 3. Their saves aren't great. They don't have any way to hide from the shooting, and never did, but like shooting wasn't showing up because shooting was bad. And Gargants hates shooting, and now shooting's good. So I think Sons of Behemoth might actually get worse, unfortunately. Down into bottom of struggling. I don't think they're like absolute garbage tier. I just think that, like, unless they get some real help from aqshy stuff, you basically just gotta wait for a book. Like, unfortunately, their profiles are like just not good enough. They're not tanky enough, and their utility's like a little bit clunky. There is some interesting stuff that I might be wrong about though, because like the Beast Smashing Gargant's kind of interesting. I could be wrong here, but I this is my prediction, is they're going to be doing pretty poorly, because the way the math breaks out and the fact they're going to get shot so heavily and don't have any way to stop it. Most of the other monster armies have some way to like prevent getting shot up super hard, or they're faster, or they have like units that can tie up the opponent, or they can like set a little skirmishing to score the objective and get shot off rather than sending a quarter of their army at a time to do it. So I don't think it's going to be great for them. And the battle tactics seem... well, actually, they might not be that bad. Battle tactics actually might be fine. But they're again, once again limited to like 1 or 2. The Regiment of Renounce. Yes, that's a good point, because I do think they are an interesting choice to Regiment of Renounce. I think like Gargant, an individual Gargant gains a lot from this GHB. Like I was saying, the problem was that you don't have like units that can get in the way, so you don't want to get hit first by their missile. But you could turn Gargants to overperforming death machines. Like some of the armies, like Night Haunt, Fire Slayers, those armies that are Seraphon, that are really like not in a good spot. Adding in an allied Gargant actually significantly improves them now. Like I think it really does like elevate their potential quite a lot, and gives them ability to like utilize this GHB's rule set in a much more significant way. When it's only Gargants, you don't have the rest of the army to play the game for you and score battle attacks and stuff like that while you're wielding this monster. Your monster's just going to die, and you don't have enough models to prevent that. So I think Sons of Behemoth itself is going to be bad, but I think Regiment of Renown Gargants, which have historically been bad, are going to get significantly better. So that's every army here. There's some stuff I want to just point out real quick that I think is concerning a little bit, is that we didn't see any Regiments of Renown points changes, which I think is not going to be great, because there's a lot of things that should have changed and didn't, namely Skarbrand, but there's other ones that should have gone down or up, and like it's a little bit like, okay, well, that's kind of irritating. But and there's like a lot of armies that are getting stuff for cheap. Like a lot of regiments now are cheaper than they are in their own army. Like the Bloodthirsty Shiver it's Sharks at 150, and GW lowered Sharks to 170 in their own army, and they're not good at 150 in other armies where they'd be better. So I would like to see Regiment Renown changes, but that'll probably come next battlescroll. But whatever, that's not too much of a concern. So that's where I'm standing with the tier list. I will be posting this video up on YouTube. And once all the spicy stuff is out and I have a little bit of a chance to digest it, I'm gonna do another stream and see where these change, because they probably will change. Because some army, like, I mean, last GHB, like certain armies significantly changed their stance in the meta, because like for example, infantry Iron Jaws went from like real bad to pretty solid with their Soggy Rekkas, right? Like, so we might see some armies that gain a lot. There might be some really cool artifacts or scrolls or random abilities or sub-factions. I don't know, I didn't see any sub-faction names, so maybe there's no sub-factions. But we'll see. Because that could change some stances here. So I'm really curious to see how that goes. I also have an extra week to kind of digest on things and think about it and maybe play some test games. So join me on that. Thank you everybody for joining. I'm super friendly, but hit me up on my name's Arongelion, ARONGELION, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Discord. So hit me up on any of those. I think my name's also that on like Blue Sky or something, but I don't know. I'm very responsive. I love to answer questions, stuff like that. So yeah, thank you guys. I think GHB is going to be really fun and really exciting. We're having a little bit of a haves and have-not situation here, but there's a pretty solidly big middle of the pack above contenders. It looks like there's a lot of things in the like easy peasy gaming and contending categories, but I wanted to highlight that like there's a lot of armies that are pretty heavily advantaged into the armies that aren't there. So we'll see how that goes though. And yeah, have a lovely night, everybody.